Hey, YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you another episode of Fantasy Grounds. Unity from the ground up. Almost forgot the Unity part. That would have been bad. So, we are finally to the stage where we're going to bring everything together. We're going to play an adventure, and hopefully that will make things arise that maybe we didn't think about that we can cover. And I think it's the best way to kind of help you understand how to do Fantasy Grounds, both as the DM and as an actual player. So let's see. Let's go ahead and. So just so you guys know, when you see pink dice, that is the GM screen. If you happen to see purple, blue or teal, I guess, white or yellow, that is player screen, and that would be also the player that's actually touching it. Some things we might not necessarily be doing in this is the actual chatting inside of languages, although I was kind of curious. If we, I don't think, will that change the, it's kind of an interesting thought. I don't know necessarily, because that seems like it's still kind of broken. But that's not a big deal. That's just one of the bells and whistles that just make it really cool, but is not necessary. So, as a GM, the first thing you want to do is go and add your players to your combat tracker, and you do that simply by pulling up your combat tracker. Once the people are on, you can just drag the individual guys straight over. And in the combat tracker, we went over the combat tracker, but for the GM you see all this additional information, where with the player screen you see much less. You get, let's do this. Let's move this guy over just a little bit. Right. About there. I really didn't do too much as far as arranging stuff around. So as you can see, we have our characters. The other thing you want to do when you're setting up is go ahead and add them also to the party sheet. Just like this. This will once again allow you to do your roles. Remember, we did do a couple rolls. That just reminded me too. I had a comment by a person, and I would like to give them credit for their comment, because it actually was a really good one on something I totally missed. And if you watched my previous episode, the bonus, well, I guess technically it wasn't really a bonus. I guess it still was. You would have, is this it? I think this is it. Nope, this one isn't it. Anyway, so you want to add these guys, and what it was, here it is right here. So even though in my video, and this was in the 6th one where we're creating our rogue, and rogues are kind of a tricky sort, because they get expertise, they get, the skills, they get lots, and because it was an elf, they actually got perception. So they were paying attention more than I was, and I think this is our rogue, right? Yes. So with Athena here, this is by Beholder the First, and this is a comment on my episode 6, creating our first rogue. He says you doubled up on deception after making the point to check that you had deception and stealth as part of your criminal background. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So we doubled up. We actually did that, which I was saying, make sure you don't do this. I did it. So I think maybe what we're going to do is, let's put, where should we put it? Let's do performance, because if we're doing deception, we want to kind of have a good performance, I think. So that's one. Also, as an elf, you got perception for free, so you effectively doubled on that one too. This means you should have 2 other proficiencies for your character. So I think the other one I might be interested in is insight. So we'll actually be able to determine if someone's lying to us. So thank you, Beholder the First. I appreciate it. Sometimes when you're doing this stuff, you're just not, because you're thinking ahead of what you're gonna do next. You don't necessarily catch everything. So I appreciate anyone that says, "Hey, you need to do this." You made a slight mistake. So once we have them in the party sheet, the other thing you'll want to do is actually go to the Order tab and add them to the marching and formation page, because they can't actually move them from here themselves, but once they're in here they can actually move them around where they want themselves to be. So this is the very basic prep stuff you want to do. If you have characters that maybe haven't joined and you want to get all this stuff set up, you can also drag a character directly from the combat selection. Like if we had another character here, we could actually drag that person in here and you'll see it automatically adds them right here. So you don't have to do it from up here, but these are the people that are actually on your system waiting to play. And let's go ahead and delete you. All right, so that's your first thing. Get your characters all set up, ready to go. Get your party sheet all set up and ready to go. The next thing I like to do is actually kind of get an idea of what the story is. Now, generally, before you're going to do an adventure, you're going to want to read through the entire thing. So if we come in here and go to our adventure here that we did, and I'm just going to go set everything that we use, that we need to use also, to be our white well. So anything that we have the white well ability to select, I'm going to go ahead and do that. There's quests, NPCs, wait for it, encounters. Might as well click it and then wait. And there's the white well. And then items, there were nothing in items. There was a parcel, at least. A couple of them. And I think that's everything. So you can go ahead and set these things where you want, because if we want the story down here, when we close it, the next time we open it, it opens up in that same place. So you can arrange everything the way you want it. Usually the way I like my DM screen is I like to be able to see at least half of this right here. So I'll usually put my combat tracker right above it and just below their name so I can remember who the players are. Now, your players, when they're joining up, can actually set these names, but we also saw that you actually can choose these names right in the character sheet, and this is what they get. You can tell which character is selected by the darker color. You'll notice that's actually bold, and I believe if we come over here, we can see Dutheon is the one selected. Now it's Josette. So this is more or less if you're actually have someone being multiple people. Other words, they're all going to be pretty much bold because they're individual players that are all connected. I don't remember if we talked about it, but as a player, you can always give the GM an idea of, if you're AFK, you can right click on it and you can toggle to AFK and it'll put this little clock up there saying, hey, I've gone AFK. Plus it'll also say this user has gone AFK. And I believe it'll actually say the name. I don't think I typed in a name, so it just says user right now. Oh, actually, there's the user right there, Tasman. I kind of confused myself by logging on the main one as Taz and then have this one logged on. I should have done Tazzy or something, but that's okay. So you can do that and say that you're AFK to, let everyone know. The other thing is, as the GM, technically as a player, You can also give yourself inspiration, and I don't remember if we talked about that. Inspiration gives you the ability to re-roll or do a technically it's a re-roll either way, because I mean if you're getting advantage on a roll, that's rolling 2 dice, which is just like a re-roll. So depending on the GM, they might call it, you just get to re-roll something, or you get to roll with advantage. Usually it will be an ability check, save, or a perception, or not a perception, but a skill check. So it'll be one of those. Ask your GM what they actually do. And you'll see Dutheon here no longer has inspiration. So the other thing is, other players will not be able to see that state. So other players will not see inspiration on characters other than their own. All right, so now that we have that and that, the next thing I like to do, like I said, is I like to kind of get an idea the story. So if we come in here to the story, you can see we have the title, which is just the credits and things like that. After that, we have I'm going to move this where I can actually see it. We have the introduction, which introductions, at least in the Adventure League adventures, pretty much just tell you how to play an Adventure League adventure. They tell you how to, before you play at the table, a character needs a name, they need a race and a class. Passive wisdom perception is the most common passive ability check. So it's, as a GM, you might want to note this information. However, once again, in the party sheet, I believe it actually tells you the perception and stuff. So we come up here, we have the perception, the passive perception is right here, 13, 14, 12, 13. So you can quickly look at that, plus you can see some quick stats like, oh, they have dark vision, meaning these guys need some kind of light source if it's a dark area. So you have that. You have your adjusting the adventure that helps you. Why is that got like double spaced weird junk? Hold on. I don't know why that double spaced all weird like that, but that's okay. We'll get it taken care of really quick. So then you always want to read the adventure. You might read it multiple times. And convenience, yes. Just like that. All right, we'll go ahead and lock that back up. So that's what this part is talking about. This is also where you would calculate your party to find out its strength. This helps you decide how I want to, rate my monsters. At least, once again, with the Adventure League adventures, they're designed kind of as a variable. Like lots of adventures say, this is for level 1, and that's it. With these, usually you can actually take them up to like level 5 or something. So what you do here is you add up the total level of the characters, which is level 1, level 1, level 1, level 1, which is 4. You divide the total by the number of characters, which is 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. Round up fractions of 0.5 or greater up, round fractions less than 0.5 down. Then you now have an idea by your number. You now have determined the average party level for the adventure. So in this case, ours is 1. Figure out the party strength for the adventure. Consult the following table. I've always kind of found these confusing because it says 3 to 4 characters, API less than, and it doesn't say anything after that. So we're going to treat ours, I think I treated it as a week thing when I created all the stuff. But that's how you kind of do it. And I think different adventures, like if we go into Harriet Hills Far, I wonder if it has that exact same thing, or if this one seemed to have some really strange stuff in the actual adventure. Let's come up here and just check real quick. Adjusting the adventure. Yeah, see, That's just what it says. Indicates no recommended adjustment. Yeah, I'm not sure. Three to four characters, APL equivalent or greater than. Greater than what average? I don't know. So I just kind of base it off of, well, these are all level 1. This is designed for 3 to 5 characters. So we're going to be weak to very weak, I would think. If we actually had 5 characters all level 1, probably be average. Well, actually, yeah, it would be down here. So it'd probably be about average. Anyway, let's not dwell too long on that because it really doesn't matter. We've already adjusted this as we saw fit. Then it talks about the being the DM. The one rule I would say as a DM is never tell your players no. No matter what idea they come up with, don't ever stonewall them. Find a way to turn it into a yes. If you really don't want them to do something, tell them yes and set the difficulty challenge to a really hard level, or not impossible, but a hard level. Give them a chance to still be able to feel like they did it. But telling a player no is one of the quickest ways to turn them off to the game, to make them no longer have fun. And the whole purpose of Dungeons and Dragons is to have fun. So as it says here, you are the rule master. Don't stop the game to be a rule Nazi and stuff. If when in doubt, come up with something that is fair to all your players and keep the adventure moving. Just like it says right here. When the game starts to get bogged down, feel free to provide hints and clues to your players so they can attempt to solve puzzles, engage in combat, role-playing interactions without getting too frustrated. So if you have a puzzle and they're just not getting it, have them do some kind of special check, set it with a really low difficulty challenge so that the odds are they're going to get it, to give them a hint, but keep the game moving. With Adventure League adventures, usually they are timed, but the way we're doing it, it's not going to be timed. Let's see, and you definitely want to challenge them. You don't want to make it too easy, but you also don't want to make it too hard. So sometimes on the fly, seeing how your party acts, you might, before the fight starts, is go look at the HP of the mobs they're going to be taking. And, if you see that these guys are dispatching 50 HP of mobs, maybe 5, 10 HP mobs with ease, and your next set of mobs are all, 10 HP, bump them up to 15. Do something before the combat starts, but kind of bump them up. Adjust it on the go. Then it talks about spellcasting services. This is more for Adventure League stuff, where they're going to be taking time, downtime and stuff like that. But you will have things like this. It could be good to actually know that, if they want to go to a nearby city and they find a spellcaster, cure wounds is 10 gold pieces. However, if they're an acolyte, by the way, that is from Neon 151, told me that it's not alokite, it's acolyte. And I don't know why I've always called it alokite. Really, I don't know. Then it talks about death recovery. We don't need any of that right now. Finally, we get into the background. So as you can see here, this is some of this information you're going to want to portray to your people. For example, in this case, as my players are sitting at the table, I probably would read almost verbatim at least this first part. This next part, I think there was parts and pieces, but this is why you want to actually read your adventure yourself. Make sure you understand what's going on, and then you can kind of gauge and say, yeah, I want to give them this information. So in this case, I would have my players all listening. And I would say, so in the foothills of the Grey Peak Mountains lives the Gommerg. And it's good also to practice these pronunciations, so you know that this is, so you're not calling it Gomerg sometimes, or Gomerg, or whatever. I probably still do that, but try and just get it where you're comfortable with it. So Gomerg, a reclusive clan of hill dwarfs. The Gomerg are insular, even, and this basically means they are kind of naive to modern things. They're kind of primitive. That might be a good word. Even for dwarven folk or dwarf folk, they marry predominantly within their own borders, although they occasionally wed foreign dwarfs of noble blood to maintain healthy lines of diplomatic neutrality and trade pacts. The Gomerg rarely deal with outsiders, treating all others with aloof suspicion. Their extreme isolation has gifted them with long years of peace, great wealth, and prowess, forging and carving metal and stone. So here you can, kind of give them an idea. Maybe they start out in the town. Maybe they're down in one of the neighboring towns or something like that. This one actually has you being drawn to a place called, of course I won't be able to find it now that I'm telling you about it. I know it'll come up. But this Lumen, he is a diviner, and they have a couple hooks for you to get into this. So maybe we don't read that right out front. Maybe this is something Lumen will actually tell your players. But they have a couple hooks in here that we'll look at, where Lumen is, how is he calling these people? So if you have magical people such as our cleric and our sorcerer, you'd say that Lumen sends a mage or sorcerer an invitation. He instructs the group to meet him at the market square at high sun, and then invites them to his manor nearby. So this is a way for you to figure out how to get your people up to this first city. And I gotta find the name of it because it's driving me nuts. Loudwater. How could I not remember that? Then you also have these ones down here. If you're doing adventure leagues and your people are in factions, you can do some of these. You have, it can be assumed that Lumen portends that the adventurers will be able to cause his desired course of action, and sends them either a magical message or a parchment note delivered to whatever lodgings the adventurers are staying in. Or if they're thick blood here, it's talking about if you have a dwarf. So we actually do have a dwarf. It says Lumen sends a Monday messenger with a note in Dwarvish to meet at his abode. Boy, this is small text. A palatal manor near the market square of Loudwater. So they give you a couple ways of hooking in. So you could actually say, I don't know where this place is, but let's say it's kind of near Waterdeep. So your people could be in Waterdeep. One of the things they talk about with Loudwater is at a harvest time or a certain time of year, they have a giant festival, a market, kind of like a fleas market or something like that. So you could entice your players or have them want to go there just for the flea market type of thing, where they could get goods for really good prices, and then they could actually end up running into him that divined that they would be there. Or like it says here, you could say that one of your casters had some kind of dream where they're being pulled in or being drawn to this place. One of the most common ways for people to start is you start out in a tavern. So you don't necessarily have to do that. You could also say maybe Josette and Mercy know each other and they're down in Waterdeep, and along the path they run into Athena and later on Duthyon, and they kind of become a band. So the worlds you know, the sky is your limit as far as how you want to actually tie in your story. But it is good to have some kind of tying in. So I was thinking when I was originally doing this that Josette, who is more attuned to the arcane type magic, that these are a party of friends that are in Waterdeep. They've been, you know, looking for adventures, and Waterdeep is a place that's known for criminal activity and all kinds of adventures. And so they're actually in Waterdeep. Well, Josette, the night before or whatever, she has this dream where this man is, you know, sending her symbolism. So you could have your player roll for, you know, insight or something like that, and maybe they get some clues as to where they go. So you could hint with like something loud and water, you know, to kind of put it together. So you can do whatever you want. But anyway, we could say Josette, the next morning, she wakes up, she meets her friends at a nearby, let's say inn instead of tavern, because we just went to a tavern. Or they could even be meeting out at a little food stand, you know, and she tells them that she feels very drawn towards the town of Loudwater, which is just at the base of the mountains, and I can't remember what the mountains are called. But this is all stuff I would actually have kind of jotted down. So it's really good sometimes to have notes here. As you can see, I have some notes about Lumen here, and some of the other key players for this adventure. That's just stuff I've kind of thrown together. So anyway, so with this, now you have the very beginnings of the adventure. Now you could either say, okay, so they're about a day's away from Loudwater. Now you can have them going up a path, or maybe it's a backcountry trail kind of thing, and you can have them stop for lunch. You can throw in a quick little adventure, get them kind of playing together if they haven't played together, give them a chance to kind of introduce each other while they're on the trail, describing their character and things along those lines. Finally, when they get to Loudwater, you would click on this, and you would see, wow, that's actually easier to read. So you would see here that you could read this, and let's make our combat tracker here a little smaller. So you can read, Loudwater is a bustle in preparation, excitement for the yearly celebration of harvest. The holiday also marks the time of travel before the winter sets in. Along the streets, many stalls and booths are selling local and exotic goods, and every corner seems to hold a group of performers. While busy and full of energy, the place is also peaceful, or the place is peaceful. So you kind of point out to your people, you know, these things. Then you could say that while they're there, Josette catches a glimpse of Lumen. His last name's Fetterbond, by the way. So you could say, yeah, she catches a glimpse of Lumen and recognizes him from the dream she had the night before, and she tells the party, oh, Duthion's sleeping. Anyway, she can bring the party over, and then he says, "Oh, I've been waiting for you. Come to my manor. I have some matters of great importance," or whatever you want to say. So then you could say, entering Fetterbond's manor, you notice that his home is ornately decorated. A silver-trimmed mirror covers the one foyer wall, and plush cushions and chairs fill his lounge. So then you can click on that so your players can see it. Then you could describe Fetterbond to the people. Fetterbond is a middle-aged dwarf in embroidered robes. He offers a carafe of mulled mead and smiles wanly. "I've got an errand that needs some attention. Have you ever heard of the White Well?" So this is your actual hook. This is now you've got them, well, you've hooked them in. Now you're actually kind of guiding them into the adventure. So once again, this is where you'd want to know what he's doing. As they're chatting with Lumen, he reveals the following type of information. He talks about his arch nemesis, who is what was their name? I know I have it right here. Nazrit. So, in fact, let's go and put this down here where we can access it really quick. So Nazrit. So here you can see that he's talking about the white well is going to be unsealed. So he's divined. He's divined that the white well is going to be unsealed by Nazrit. And this would be a really bad thing because he believes that inside the white well is a very bad evil, a presence of evil or something. So you can kind of, you don't want to usually read these parts verbatim. You just kind of want to give them an idea. So they're asking questions. You can see here it says the well contains evil, and Lumen has assessed that something vile will spew forth if unsealed. Lumen suspects the well has a fiendish origin, but the actual source of the well's power is unknown. Its alien nature inhibits his divinations. So he could then tell them, as they ask him more questions, he could say, yes, I believe that the well contains a great evil that has been sealed up inside. And if Nazrit is able to unseal it, this evil will come out. And I can't tell much about it because something about this well blocks me from being able to divine it, you know. So you can tell the players the different things about the actual well, have them kind of, you know, role play parts that you want, role play with Nazrit, let them play with each other. Don't try and really get everything to go really quick. You don't need to jump right into the adventure if they want to do some role playing with each other, with Lumen, so on and so forth. Also, when they're at the market, if they want, it does mention, I don't remember if it's right here or not, but it does say that, you know, this might be a good place for them to pick up some supplies, such as healing potions and things along those lines. I don't know if it's right here or not. There we go. So Al-Munde goods and potions. All mundane goods and potions are available for purchase due to the market. So you'll be able to find not super nice stuff, but you'll be able to find some basic supplies. Boy, I cannot read and I apologize for that. So now you've got your players role playing. They're investing themselves into this adventure. They're placing themselves. This is another thing that's always good to do, is describe their surroundings. I mean, this doesn't go into great detail other than, you know, it has some cushions and things like that. But you can always throw in some little quirks. Maybe our Lumen has some special quirk, and I thought I actually added some in here. Oh, and Lumen's a guy, dang it. This one's the girl. So Lumen has been involved in a wizard war against Nazrit's pawns, but he is slowly... Oh, where did I see a she? Oh, her pawns. Against Nazrit and her pawns. But is slowly losing. So, play it up. As you can see here, I kind of also have... I think this might have actually been at the very bottom of the page. One resource I really like, I will show you really quick, to get more character information or generate it, is going to is it this one? I think it might be this one. Nope, it's not this one. Darn it. And we're pretty much out of time for this first episode. But I wanted to find this because it's actually really good. Oh, maybe this is it. No, this one's not it either. Dang. Alright, I'm going to look one more time. Maybe if I can't find it right now, I will... here it is. So there's this website right here called npcgenerator.com. And what you can do is you can say, okay, Nazreet is a dwarf, right? So we can say he's a dwarf. We can say his subrace is he's a mountain dwarf. He lives in the mountains. His gender is male. His alignment, we'll just say good. He's pretty good. Plot hooks. So this is, you know, do we want kind of a classic plot hook, funky, or classic? We'll just say classic. Then we can give his occupation. We can maybe do class. Let's see what class says real quick. Down here at the bottom, you can't see it because, well, maybe if I do this, you can. There we go. So now if I do this, well, you still can't see it. It still goes below the window. So we choose wizard. Then we click generate here, and you'll see that this kind of gives, ignore the name here, he gives the name, tells you what he looks like. So I like to take a bunch of this stuff and, you know, he's clumsy. You can play with that. This always adds little quirks, you know, like maybe they kind of flinch, you know, or kind of have a tick in their shoulder or something, you know, but in this case he's very clumsy. So as he's looking for things, you know, he could be going to his bookshelves as he's asked for stuff and fumbling through books and, you know, kind of dropping things here and there. He reacts violently to gloves. I don't know why I do that. But anyway, this is a really good site to help you just get some quick background on a character. It'll even generate names, but in this case we know the name, so we would just substitute his name in here. It'll even give you, you know, some stats, and then also, you know, a plot hook. He has been pressured by local drug dealers into selling drugs. In this case, we don't care about that. But anyway, that's just one thing I wanted to quickly point out. All right, and we're going to try and wrap up here fairly quick. I just wanted to kind of point some of these things out. And this, I know we're doing a whole lot of talking about getting into the adventure, and I myself am not very good at it. When I'm planning it, oh yeah, it can all flow, but when you're actually doing it with the characters, sometimes it just kind of drags along a little bit. You want to try and keep it as quick moving as possible, but also you want them to have fun. So in a nutshell, what's happening here is he's telling them that he has divined that the white well is going to be opened. And if it's opened, a terrible evil is going to be unleashed on the world, and that he wants them to go stop it. And as you can see here, he is willing to pay 250 gold pieces once the adventurers return. And then Federbund can use his scrying to ascertain the white well has actually been sealed. However, he is willing to pay you 100 gold pieces up front. So another thing to note is once you accept this quest, once it's on in your journal as, okay, we're going to do this, you can still go to the market. They can still go ask around the town. They can go shopping and all that stuff. You don't have to jump right into getting on the road. And sometimes a way to do that is say that night's approaching. You might want to go to the nearby inn, because then usually people will say, okay, well, since night's approaching, I'm going to go check out the town. Then I'm going to go to the inn and I'm going to sleep. We'll wake up in the morning first thing and head out. So that is one way to kind of help let your characters do things. Usually if you say this is bright and early in the morning and it's still early morning, they'll say, all right, let's head out. And then they don't necessarily think about, oh, maybe I should get some extra healing potions. If, you know, they they talk to him. And I think the way I do this in here is I actually just go ahead and say he'll give them up front. So if we go look under parcels here, actually I guess it's right here, Lumen Federbond's incentive. So as you can see, it's that one right there. And you can see that he is actually going to give them 100 gold pieces, 2 potions of healing, and a map of the area, which will help them get up to the, what was it called? That was right here. I just saw it. The gray something. The Gray Peak Mountains. So I think we're at 40 minutes, so I think we're going to go ahead and call it here. Hopefully you found some of this information useful and you will want to use it in yours. If you have other suggestions, what do you do? To be honest, just like writing a giant paper for school, which I haven't been in a long time, but just like that, usually the starting is the hardest part. Once you get past that hurdle of starting, everything starts flowing. So I'd love to hear your guys' comments on how you start, whether it's in a tavern and some person comes up and asks if they can help or whatever. I'd love to know what you guys do. And I'm sure other people that are reading the comments will benefit from also your input and insight as well. So like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, be sure to click the thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, subscribe, click the notification bell. I always forget to say that, so you're notified when I put up new videos. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discords. Don't forget about my great big game giveaway. When we hit 1,000 subs, I'm giving away 57 Steam games. And as it stands right now, 1 copy of Fantasy Grounds Standard Classic version, not Unity. But still pretty good. And that's it. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.